Hey guys, and welcome back for a new Instant Pot recipe video. Today I wanted to share with you my white chocolate pumpkin cheesecake recipe. This is a crowd favorite. I love it, it's simple to make, and with minimal ingredients, it just really hits the spot to spice things up for fall. So we're gonna get into the recipe. I will say, if you're new to the Instant Pot, you may benefit from my Instant Pot 101 series, so you might wanna check that out before we get started. But after you do, let's get into it with the recipe. So the first thing that you wanna do is go ahead and get your pot prepped. So you're gonna wanna put 2 cups of water in the inner pot of your Instant Pot. So I've already got a cup in there, and I'm gonna add 1 more. And we're gonna be using the trivet that comes with your Instant Pot. So that's gonna be sort of our little steamer for the cheesecake. You're also gonna need a springform pan. This is something that they use always for cheesecakes, but it's essential to have one that fits your pot. So I'll link a few down below. Another essential is to have some parchment paper in the bottom. So all you have to do is just cut a little circle the same size as the bottom of your springform pan. And I've already done mine and cut it, but let me show you a quick way to do that. Now I've seen a lot of people struggle with these springform pans. To be honest, I'm not too sure what the big secret is, but the way that I do it works every time. So what you want to do is just cut a piece of parchment paper that's a little bit, quite a bit bigger than your springform pan. Then you're going to take the sides of your pan, make sure it's open all the way, and make sure you have the lip side facing down. So go ahead and just snuggle that in around the bottom, and then you're going to go ahead and tighten this little belt here so it grabs onto the pan. And there you go. So we're just going to trim away the excess around the pan, and we'll be good to go. The first thing we're gonna do to make this cheesecake is the crust. So I've got a cup of graham cracker crumbs here and a 1/3 cup of melted butter. Now if you don't have graham cracker crumbs, you can just take the graham cracker sheets. You'll need about 5½ of those, and you can throw them into your food processor. I used to just use the sheets, but then I found the crumbs, and honestly, it's such a time saver, I do it every time. Now to spice up the crust, I'm gonna use some of my favorite spices, so nutmeg and cinnamon. If you have a pumpkin spice blend that you love, you can use that as well. And we're just gonna measure this by your individual preferences. So I've got about 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and I'm also gonna do about 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. If you guys want all the specifics for measurements, you can find those in my blog post down below. And that's also gonna be a great resource if you like to pin your recipes, because I'll have a few photos there that'll make it really easy to pin. Just a few simple ingredients is all it takes to make this amazing fall dessert. So I'm just dumping this here into the pan, and you're gonna need to get your fingers dirty for this. The kids love to help with this part. So, depending on how messy you want your kitchen, get the kids involved, and we're just gonna press down our graham cracker crumbs. There you go. So that is our crust. Let me wash up real quick, and we'll get to the base of our cheesecake. Now for the cheesecake base, the most important thing that we need to do to make this turn out perfectly is to mix it enough and to make sure that your cream cheese and your sour cream were at room temperature or about before you start. So I let my cream cheese sit out for like an hour or 2 in the package just to get soft, so that it is so much easier to really smooth it out. Now if you have a hand mixer, like a stick mixer or a KitchenAid, use that by all means, because it's gonna be so much easier. But if you are loaning out your KitchenAid or you just don't have one, you can do it by hand, but make sure you've softened your ingredients first. So I've got about 20 ounces, which is about 2½ bricks of cream cheese in here. I've mixed this for a good couple minutes before we started filming here. And then we're gonna add in our sugar. And this is so key. You've gotta make sure that this gets well incorporated and mixed in. The more that you can smooth this cheesecake ahead of time, then the smoother it's going to turn out. And everybody wants a smooth cheesecake. I don't know what it is exactly, but there is just something that feels so good about making your family a dessert totally by hand, like making fresh rolls or making a cheesecake, with just a spoon and a bowl and just putting some extra love into it. Now, if you'd like to keep the base of your cheesecake white and no little specks inside, if your kids would mind the specks, then forgo this part. But I like to add just a little sprinkle of nutmeg inside the cheesecake, just the batter part, and I think that it adds a little bit of spice throughout. It really reminds me of like winter and my grandma, and adds just a little bit of something to it. So if your kids don't mind, I think adding a little bit of spice in the mix is a great idea. Now we're gonna add in our sour cream. Now that that is nice and smooth, we'll just go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. So we've got vanilla extract, we've got 3 egg yolks, and then we're also, what's the other thing? Oh, flour. I was expecting something else liquid. I usually mix these ones up first, and then I'll put in the flour kind of as I go. There we go. I'm like, what is the last ingredient? It's flour. This is what sort of binds everything together, and it gives it kind of the cake effect. Like it keeps it holding its shape. And that is all it takes to make the base of the cheesecake. So let's go ahead and pour this into our springform pan, and then we can get to cooking. I always love making a cheesecake in the evening. You can kind of set the ingredients out maybe before you start serving the family with dinner. Let all of those things sit out and soften, the cream cheese and the sour cream. And then after dinner's all put away and everybody's kind of sitting from dinner, then I can get started making the cheesecake, and it'll be ready by the morning. So you do need to let it chill. If you get real impatient, you can technically get into it, just a little bit after it's been able to chill, but I like to do it overnight. Now we're just gonna go ahead and smooth over the top of our cheesecake. I'm gonna add just a little bit of cinnamon on the top. I mean, come on, look at that. If this doesn't give you fall vibes, I don't know what will. Then we're gonna go ahead and set this into our Instant Pot. We're gonna put on our lid with the silicone seal inside. And then we should probably plug it in. There we go. Make sure the valve in the back is set to sealing, not venting. And we're gonna go ahead and do a pressure cook for 35 minutes. So if you have the same Instant Pot that I do, I like to just do pressure cook, and then you can set the time up to 35 minutes. Some models say manual, and you can just set the time there for 35 minutes. And we are going to allow the cheesecake to naturally release. So once the timer has gone off, then we are just going to let it sit until the pressure pin in the back has fallen. So if you're new to the idea of cooking with an Instant Pot, make sure you check out that Instant Pot 101 that I've done, learn a little bit more about the features and safety kind of things. And then we're gonna do a little update. You can see how it turned out and how we're gonna finish it and make it beautiful white chocolate pumpkin cheesecake. All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit.
So I've just taken the cheesecake out of the Instant Pot and I've topped it with some white chocolate chips. If you don't want that added texture, you could also melt the white chocolate, let it cool, and as the cheesecake comes out, go ahead and drizzle it over with the white chocolate. After it's set for about 20 minutes, we'll take a knife and we just want to bring that around the outer edge of the cheesecake. This just ensures it's going to come off nicely. You're not going to have any cracks or the cheesecake trying to stick to the springform pan. So I just like to run it around the sides. Then we're going to go ahead and loosen this belt and slowly let your cheesecake come out of the springform pan. And you can see on the sides here, when you do it slowly, it just comes off really nice and you don't have any sort of tugging or kind of cracked edges on the cheesecake. So just be careful and be slow with it and remove that outer belt. And then I had to set the camera down for this, but I went ahead and I removed that bottom pan as well from the cheesecake. And then we are going to go ahead and store this in the refrigerator overnight, just on that parchment paper. In the morning, we'll use that to transfer it. But for now, we're just going to put this straight into the fridge.
It looks so good. You guys, our cheesecake has had a chance to set up overnight. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and transfer this over to the plate that I wanna serve it on. And then I'm actually gonna put it on my pedestal. I love, anytime I bake pretty much anything, I wanna elevate it. It just makes it look that much more special. Plus, it's got a built-in, bug cover as well. So we're all done with the base. Now I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to make this amazing pumpkin spice topping. So I've already gone ahead and I melted a stick of butter, so 1/2 cup of butter. And to that, we are gonna add in 1/2 cup of brown sugar, also 1/2 cup of sweetened condensed milk. Once I've got those mixed in fairly well, we're gonna keep mixing them on the stove. I'm gonna go ahead and add in our spices. So here I've got 1/4 teaspoon of ground clove, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and then also 1 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. If you love spice, go ahead and add as much as you want, to be honest. But if you're making this for kids, maybe try it out with less and then maybe try more the next time. Okay, we're also gonna add in our pumpkin puree. If you've got a pumpkin pie pumpkin, you could totally steam that and puree it. I've actually got some canned pumpkin on hand, and we are gonna add in 4 tablespoons. Now we're just gonna take this over to the stove. Make sure you stir it constantly for about 2 to 5 minutes once it gets to that simmer, just until it's thickened. So I've just taken the sauce off of the stove and it's super, super hot. If you were in a rush and you wanted to serve the cheesecake now and just pour this over individual slices, you could, and then it would melt the white chocolate on top. However, if you're gonna serve this cheesecake for dinner or something like that, do not pour the hot sauce on top. What you're gonna wanna do is put it in a separate container where it can just cool down, and then once it's nice and cool, probably about a good hour or so, then you can go ahead and pour it over the top. You wanna make sure it's not warm at all. You want it definitely room temperature or even a little bit cold. It's also gonna thicken up even more, and that'll help it to kind of stay where you put it on the cheesecake. So we're just gonna go ahead and leave that out. I'm actually gonna pop the cheesecake back in the fridge so it'll stay nice and cold, and then I will show you guys what it looks like all finished and drizzled and amazing. Also, if you guys are curious about another Instant Pot cheesecake recipe, some other topping ideas, make sure you check out my caramel cheesecake recipe, and I will have that one up above. That topping is just so good as well.
So after about an hour, our topping is ready, and I'm just gonna smooth it on top. You could also double this recipe. You could use it to dip apples and other treats too. Well, if you guys are ready to get started, I will have the recipe linked down in my blog post below. You can pin it over there for your Pinterest boards. And don't forget to check out more of my Instant Pot videos with the links down below, as well as up in the cards. See you soon!